So I caught the bug about 11 months ago. Right now, it's keeping the ball straight. Everything's leaking a little to the right. I think that's my biggest issue. We try to work on compressing the ball a little bit more right now. So those two big things, from what I can tell, are what's kind of holding me back right now.
We'd like to thank our partners at ShotScope for sponsoring today's video. But the first thing you always want to check if you've got weak right shots is club face angle. In simplified terms, let's just say where the club face points at impact is going to have a dramatic effect on where the ball starts. And then the curve, but let's just say where it starts. The second thing, if the ball is going to the right, we would look at would be club path. So if am I swinging too far in, out, or to the right, and or is it open club face? For you, it's a little bit of a combination of both, but definitely the face being pointed to the right. But there's really like a big three that we would all look for if we've got the ball going to the right and the club face is open. The first thing would be your grip. So is your grip strong or weak? The second thing are your wrist angles. So they kind of bent back, flat left wrist, bent back right wrist, or the opposite. And then the third part is arm rotation. So do we rotate the club face enough on the way down? Okay. Now, if you wanted to close the club face more, which would be a good idea for you, me, and everyone watching, right? Like the players who over close the club face are the best players. The players who have the face the most open are the worst. Like my first year golfing, I had the same issue. Yeah. Face too far open. So if anything, we'd want to stack all three of those in our favor to make the ball go this way, right? So starting with grip, then wrist angles, then arm rotation. We'll talk through that in a moment. Now, the first thing we said though with the club face is your grip. Now, is that how you've always held the club? Is that new, different?
No, that's pretty much always how I've held it.
Yeah, and I would say your grip is okay. We do have the option of turning that right hand in particular a bit more under to help close the club face. Again, if our goal was to close the face, we'd rather over close it versus under. And if the grip being stronger would help over close it, and that's what the best players would do, over close it, we could probably lean in that direction a little bit. So we'll talk through that. Now, as we go to the top of the swing, you've got a lot of depth during your backswing, which means you get your hands, in and behind you quite a bit. That's okay. That's something we could tweak a little bit over time. But your wrist angles at the top of your swing, but if we look at your wrist angles versus his wrist angles, his left wrist is more flat, where yours is more cupped. That way, exactly. And with that, then your right wrist isn't bent back enough. Your right wrist is too flat. His right wrist would be bent back more. On the way back, if I wanted to have the club face the most open, I would do what you do, like I'm gonna exaggerate, which a lot of you guys are gonna do too. The left wrist is too cupped, the right wrist is too flat, and then the club face is too open. So kind of pointed straight away from me. Now, if I take my left wrist and I get it to flat, and I bend my right wrist back, which we can do either of those, do you see the correlation between the club face? So as I flatten my left wrist and I bend back my right wrist, that obviously changes the club face quite a bit. If I were to do that here at you, and I cut my left wrist and flatten my right, that obviously opens it. So that would be like toe up, toe behind the heel open. As I flatten my left wrist, bend back my right wrist, that would obviously close it. So if we've got the ball going to the right with an open face, certainly what we don't want is too much of the cut. So we've got two opportunities to fix that right away, right? One is the right hand grip, little shaft lean, and two is wrist angles to the top of the swing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now the issue with you getting so deep on the way back is it makes you swing from inside on the way down. Now, some of that's good, like a scoop of ice cream, but like a whole maybe bowl of ice cream is too much. You've got like maybe more depth than you want to have at the top. We'll see what effect that has. So now when you start to come down during the downswing, there's two big issues here. We get you halfway down versus him halfway down. Number one, your shaft is lower, more inside, more shallow, too shallow, whereas his is just above his forearm. And number two, if you look at the club face itself, see how your club face, the toe is behind the heel. So this, for you, would point like up towards the sky, and his points slightly down towards the ground. So if you hold the club up in front of you, just hold it up kind of level like this, and now make the toe behind the heel. That's what you look like to start down. Where's that pointed, right or left?
Right.
Right. His looks like this. Where's that pointed, right or left?
Left. Yeah.
So that's a lot from the wrist angles at the top, and then how he closes it early in the downswing. So if I look at you, and you look at you and him, who looks like they're gonna hit it to the right?
Me.
Club's coming from too far inside, and the club face is too open. So then when you come into the ball, the club, again, with the early release, the club's coming way too far inside under plane. Great problem to have.
Yeah.
Like this is should be no problem to get through the ball back on plane. But if I drew this up, what you want to be able to do is get the club. We'll look at Max Homa riding the club right up that shaft plane on the way back and down. He rides right up it on the backswing, and then watch when he comes down, his club rides right back down that same shaft plane. So we can show on the way back, you go in and under quite a bit. And then when you come down and through, you're going to go way under that line. See, too low and inside. So from here, when your club's 2 feet behind the ball, and his club is 2 feet behind the ball, see how his club looks like it's going to approach the target kind of dead on? Look at where your club is there to the ball. Looks like you got no choice but to hit it to the right. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And now that's also why you get some of your contact issues, which we'll talk about. So the 2 things we have to do to solve your right issues, this is like today, next year, forever, is close the face more and swing less from inside.
Okay.
More on plane, less from inside. Like in the follow through in terms of closing the club face, notice where you are and where he is. This is the 3rd piece. So your glove logo on the way through at arms parallel, your glove logo is pointed up towards the sky on the follow through. So your glove logo is pointed up towards the sky on the way through. And that obviously makes the club face
open.
Now his glove logo is pointed a little bit more down and left, and that makes the club face
closed.
Yeah. So in all 3 areas to close the club face, you could do more of each. That's great news. Okay. It's not like any mystery of other shit we got to do, right? So what I would do when you're improving, and this is for you guys watching too, you want to pick like the main big thing to improve first. So for Brad, we said, hey, we got to close the club face 1, and we got to swing less inside 2. I would really focus on the club face part first, get the ball curving left. You're still going to be under plane and early release it a little bit, but then we can do that second. Okay. Right? Do one really good thing at a time. Let's see how we do with that. Does that stuff make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
A little bit of grip, a little bit of wrist, a little bit of arm rotation. I'm going to move your hands about there.
Right here, okay.
So that should feel to you like they're kind of inside your left thigh. And then from here, we're going to take your right hand and just turn it under just a little bit. Okay. So your hands are going to feel forward with that right hand underneath. Okay. How I like to do that, if you take your right hand, keep your left hand on, but take your right hand off. If you guys need to strengthen your right hand grip, a nice way to do this is put your hand on your leg, turn your palm away from you, this way. So the palm and the inside part of the elbow point away from you. And then you're trying to get that in there while keeping your hand turned this way. That's too exaggerated. But what we don't want to do is come in this way. Okay. The hand on top, that's too weak. If anything, we want to come in underneath. So it's just going to feel like it's turned just a smidge at setup. Right in about there. Okay. With me on that? Yep. Between your thumb and your index finger is going to be about at your shoulder. A good indicator. Got it. So the handle's forward. The right hand grip's a little stronger. This can be soft here. Yeah. Okay. Now our job with this is going to be to get the wrist angles to the top. So we're going to need to feel like the left wrist is bowed some and the right wrist is bent back some. You don't need to do that during the takeaway. But from here to the top, and this will be from down the line camera, what we want to feel like is this right wrist should feel as bent back as you can get it. Now, if you get the right wrist bent back, because you're holding the club with both hands, the left wrist should happen by itself, right? That's an option. Or you can feel a little bit of both of them. So there's no right or wrong when you guys are doing this. You can feel right wrist, you can feel left wrist, you can feel both. But the goal is to feel like that club face for you then is really closed, is what you want to feel. Got it. Because with a closed club face, what you guys want is to give your brain motivation to fix the later issues. Your issue is early release under plane. If the club face was closed, let's do these, there's no reason for your brain to do that. It would hit it way left. So with a closed club face, what your brain wants to do is feel like I get more shaft length, because that would hit the ball at the target. You with me on that? Yeah, I'm with you. Let's take your setup. Let's make your right hand grip too weak. Give me like the bad version. Okay. So if we do bad, we'll do bad to the top, left wrist cup there. So if your club face is open like this, your brain's got a lot of motivation to do what? Throw it to square it. Yeah. Right? So we're just trying to reverse the motivation. Okay, let's wash off that bad one. Let's put that good one back in. All right. So your job at setup is right hand grip stronger with the shaft more forward. Right hand grip stronger with the shaft more forward. And when I'm doing these lessons and I say these things over and over, right hand grip stronger, shaft more forward, that's what I would like say to myself when I'm hitting balls or I'm practicing. And I say that mantra, like you should be telling yourself that when you're practicing. Just keep reminding yourself, right hand grip stronger, shaft more forward. Right hand grip stronger, shaft more forward. Good. Now let's do the wrist angles to the top. Don't need to do them during the takeaway. Can you do them during the takeaway, Dustin Johnson? Sure. We kind of want to gradually do them to the top as a stock model. So that should feel as bent back as you can get it.
Yep.
And that should feel like it's slightly bowed to you compared to normal. With me there?
Yep, I'm with you.
Okay. Let's reset your setup and show me you getting to that same spot. Just kind of, slowly, 20, 30% speed. So that setup, we have the right hand grip stronger and the shaft more forward. So when you guys are doing the shaft forward too, and when you watch on video, you more or less want to get your lead arm and the club in like a straight line, especially with something like an 8-iron. This arm and the club in a straight line. Here would be not a straight line.
Yeah.
Two lines.
Okay.
Not a straight line. Now you today, that's going to feel way the fuck forward.
Yeah.
But when you look on camera, it's going to look normal. It's just
Yeah.
got to feel exaggerated in the beginning. Hands inside left thigh. Very good. Now slowly show me the wrist angles to the top. Excellent. Beautiful job. Let's do that again. This will be the most boring part of the process for you right now. Handle forward, right hand grip stronger, a little more right hand grip stronger. Yeah, cool, great. Wrist angles to the top. Awesome job. Now from here, wrist angles to the top, what we're gonna do when we come down, what you guys wanna do at this point, our glove logo will be pointed about straight away. Right wrist is still bent back. Okay, you should feel kind of tension here in your wrist. As you release the club forward, this left hand is going to feel like this glove logo is pointed slightly down and left.
Okay.
You normally would go this way, glove logo up. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but glove logo up, club face open. Let's exaggerate. Let's get this turned down to where this feels turned down. Now this right shoulder will stay down as we do it. Okay. So for you guys watching here, in the follow through, what we're shooting for, if you miss to the right as exaggerated, is the glove logo is going to point slightly down and left, and the club face is about a 45-degree angle. Now when we actually hit a ball with a collision, it'll probably end up about there, but what we don't want to have, the bad version, is logo up, club face up. Not if you're missing to the right. Logo down, club face down. The worst thing that happens from there is you overhook them to the left, and then we're like literally in the 1% of the golfing population. So I would say for all of 2024, and if you have this issue as well, once you identify the main things, this is probably all we're gonna do along with the swing plane piece.
Okay.
So next week, we're not gonna be like, hey, what about my left hip? Let me try this with my right shoulder. What about this with my right elbow? It's like, just keep hammering these same pieces, right?
Okay.
We'd like to thank our partners at ShotScope for sponsoring today's video. You know that I always preach what? Feedback, feedback, feedback. You need feedback to improve your swing. Well, guess what? When you go out onto the golf course, you need that same exact feedback. ShotScope are leaders in GPS, shot tracking, and rangefinder technology. You got to look at some data and figure out where you're actually going off to build a solid plan to improve. Another thing that I love about ShotScope is they have options for everyone. Whether you just want GPS distances on the course, a great value but high performing rangefinder, or want to dive into your data, ShotScope has a product for everyone. Let's look at some of the products ShotScope offers, starting with the Pro LX Plus. The first of its kind, the Pro XL Plus, allows you to track your performance using the 16 tracking tags and provides over 100 stats to improve your game. When you use the X5 GPS watch, the lightweight tags screw right into your clubs and the watch automatically tracks your data on the golf course. The watch gives you all the distances you need on the course to help you navigate each hole. With the purchase of a performance tracking device, golfers gain free access to the ShotScope mobile app and web dashboard containing over 100 tour level statistics. Whether you want just the distance to the hole or you like all the stats that they have on there, ShotScope literally has something for everyone. What I'd like you to do, and this is what you guys would do when you practice, 1 or 2 rehearsals, hit a ball, check video. Say it with me. 1 or 2 rehearsals, hit a ball, check video. That's just such a good process to improve. Requires some discipline. So we're gonna take our setup, we're gonna go handle forward, right hand grip stronger. Gonna bring that in from underneath. Backswing, feel the wrist angles. Left wrist bowed, right wrist bent back. Downswing, we're gonna feel like we're gonna have some arm rotation to where the club face is gonna be closed. Handle forward, grip stronger, wrists, arm rotation. Handle forward, grip stronger, wrists, arm rotation. Now today, your first 30 minutes of doing this is like your first 30 minutes of learning how to play guitar, speaking a language. It's gonna feel like a lot and chaotic. Same thing when you guys do this. But think about 6 months into like learning a language, playing the guitar. It's like, okay, this is gonna be so fucking easy for you in 6 months, but today it'll feel like a lot. And all of our goal for doing it is just to close the face, to fix the weak right miss, to go long left. Whatever your miss is ball flight wise, you wanna put pieces in to see the opposite in practice. So when you go play, you should find middle. If you're someone who hooks the ball left, put pieces in where you hit some fades, and then those same feels on the course, because when you go on the course, your feels go down like 50%, that'll give you straight. Okay, so you wanna hit the opposite in practice. Do a couple together, and then we'll put a ball in. So your job is right hand grip stronger with the shaft forward. And we could do those in either order. We'll see which we like best.
So forward shaft.
Right hand grip stronger, beautiful. Then we're going wrist angles to the top. Excellent job, good. And then as we start to come down, we're gonna feel like about there. Now, when we feel here on the way through, let's talk about a couple pieces here. This shoulder always will stay down. We'll feel like the arms are a bit straighter. Good. So this left wrist, say logo feels to the left. Let's just turn down. This is good. Now, let your right foot come up on your toes a little and turn your right hip towards me. Good. Stand up a little taller. Good. Right about there, a little straighter. This will be what about your follow through is going to feel like. You can look towards the target a little. Good. That's kind of what you're going to feel like. Now, when you would keep coming through, let your hip keep releasing. This shoulder always stays down. Good. The reason the shoulder stays down is your body to keep your inclination to the ground so we can consistently hit the ground. When we stand up, you get farther or closer to the ground.
Farther.
That would mean more thin shots.
Yeah.
This will help hit the mat. And all these things are going to be new. Like Brad's follow through, where he goes head too far forward, arms up, is just a reaction to the earlier issues. So the better we get those earlier pieces, the easier he'll be able to feel those. So let's do, right now we're kind of pausing. So when you have multiple things you're doing, even though we're solving one issue, club face, we're going here, pause here, pause here. Let's take the pauses out, start to make some fluid motions, but you're gonna go handle forward, right hand grip stronger, wrists, arms. And now notice, I'm going to a full finish. I'm just gonna feel like as I get there, I'm allowing this to turn over.
Turn over, okay.
Yep. So right hand grip stronger, handle forward, wrist angles, full finish.
Yeah.
No pauses here. Let's go about 50% speed. Little wrist angles. Beautiful job. Let's do one more, and then we'll put a ball in. Right hand grip stronger, handle forward. Okay, setup's good. Backswing wrist angles, downswing arm rotation. Awesome. Now you, or Superman, can't do all that perfect at one time. That's too many things. In a real lesson, I would probably give you, hey, let's do the grip, maybe the wrists, and spend 2, 3, 4 weeks on just that.
Okay.
Then we'll do the arm rotation piece. But we're trying to do this all in once. Let's see what we can do. So on this first ball, let's really, really focus on those two things.
Two things, okay.
The grip and handle forward. You feel like you really do the wrist to the top. Now your downswing's still gonna have the same issues. Yeah. So you might thin it or whatever, but the goal is to change the direction. So relative to that clock and that pole, I'd love for the ball to like go too far left.
Okay.
And because you swing from inside, the only way it's going left is if you close the club face.
Got it.
Not gonna be from path for you.
Right.
So let's hit a couple with that. Doesn't matter how you hit it. That looks great. Wrist the best you can, swing through. Cool, a little thin righty. Let's try another one. I'm gonna give you a feel and then you can hit the next one. You did a great job with the setup and the backswing. Handle good. Hand grip, handle forward, good. Now we're gonna feel wrist angles to the top, best you can, and then swing through. Good, so reset yourself and feel that same thing. You're gonna try and change the club face piece first. If he's still hitting too far to the right, then we can't get away with not doing the underplane today. We'll do that as well. But I wanna get a couple of them curving left without changing the swing plane. Let's see. Your job is the right hand grip good. The handle being a little bit more forward. Good, so we're gonna do the wrist angles on the way back. Good. Now from here, on this one too, in the practice for the swing plane piece, instead of trying to get the club so far from inside and under, let's work to get the club a little bit more like it's feeling like it's on top of the plane line here.
Okay.
And let's make sure when we come through, we take a nice thud of that mat into the follow through.
Okay.
So we're just gonna add a little layer here. You set up good, wrist angles back, club more on plane with a thud on the way down. Okay, better contact. Still too far to the right, but good contact. So when you come down and through, the more the club comes from low. When I take my setup, let's say we put that line up the shaft, The goal would be to get the club riding up that and back down it. The more the club gets early release from inside, the more the low point's back behind the ball. So either I miss the ground altogether, hit it slightly on the way up, on the bottom of the club and thin it, or I hit back behind the ball. Now we got to talk about that some with your release. I want to do the club face part first to give you motivation. But if I can get my club on plane, even if I early release it, helps move that low point way, way, way forward.
Okay.
So the club will be less from in to out,
Okay.
and the low point will be more forward. Atta baby. Let's do that with the ball. Very good. So we're changing the club face. That's the root thing. Now we're starting to delve into keeping the club a bit more on point. Oh, very nice. Okay, that's still a little bit too far right, but that's probably the best ball you hit today.
Felt good.
Yeah, that contact was significantly better. To change your club path or swing plane, you want to put objects in your way to help you get feels for where the club should be. So when you're too far from low and inside, early release, you want to have an object between you and the golf ball behind you. So if you take your setup here, I'm going to put this bucket in line where if this was your shaft plane, that's right underneath it. Now this is too hard. I'm going to move it in here where it's, 2 to 3 fingers underneath that angle, and I'm going to move it back behind you a little bit. So for you, if we do the bad version, where it comes too far from inside, we hit the bucket. Our good version would stay in front of the bucket here and in front of the bucket there on both sides.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to set this up in a fairly neutral position. We're going to do 2 practice swings without a ball, just for you to get a feel for that. Now you still need to do the setup. Hang on a second, that's too easy. You still need to do the setup piece is good. Wrist angles on the way back. Clubs on plane and thud the ground. Yes. When you go practice and play, and if you guys are too shallow and inside, not hitting the ground or taking no divot if you're too shallow is bad. Watch like an Alex Noren. Maybe we can pop him up on the screen where he does this drill where he hits the ground, like really, really get your low point down and forward, exaggerate that piece. So he definitely needs to hear a thud of the mat when doing this. Cool. Wrist angles on the way back, club on plane. Oh, okay. Getting closer.
Getting closer.
So the contact's getting much better. We're hitting it more solid, right? But we're still a little bit too far to the right. So now one little piece that I would add in when you're practicing and playing is to give yourself some frame of reference of the launch. So come on back here with me. And if you guys are doing this and you're hitting it on one side of the target or the other, and you're struggling with direction, you want to give yourself something in front of you for like a frame of reference. Let's say from here, so you can see this first, Brad, let's get you seeing it and then we'll give the audience. So from here, if you see relative to your target line, come straight in line.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put an object that's like just right, where so when you line up here, I'm gonna visualize a window, like a launch angle about here, so that all the golf balls start on the opposite side.
Okay.
Yeah. You with me on
Okay.
that?
Yep. I'm with you.
So just like right before we go, you can look up and look at that. Let's do a couple more.
Right.
So whatever you struggle with ball flight wise, remember in practice, you want to see the opposite curves and you also want to see the opposite start lines. So if you push, hit it to the right, you want to put things in your way to hit some to the left, pull them in practice, right? That's what we're looking for. So your job is the wrist angles, good setup, good closing club face. Yeah. Yeah, you're doing this great, dude. Very good job. Wrist angles on the way back, club on plane. It's like this close. Almost.
That was on the outside of that.
Yes, it was.
Oh. I feel like it's so close.
Okay, let's do one together. You are. We were like a swing or two away from doing this. Go up to the top again. In terms of twisting the club face closed, let's do the wrist angles to the top and then pause. There's also timing to this. We could start to feel like you start closing this sooner. So you start twisting that thing out there sooner. Instead of us feeling it more in the follow through, we can absolutely feel like you start closing that thing sooner. So you're getting like the club face more pointed at the ball or square to the target earlier on.
Okay.
That's also a different option.
All right.
There's no such thing as like closing it too soon for you. So we're closing the club face, getting the club on plane. Hey, there we go.
That went left.
Yeah, and honestly, that ball, I mean, that was like a little draw right at your target. If our target's like in between the clock and that first pole, that was about perfect.
Yeah.
Now, did you feel like you were closing it a little bit sooner?
I did.
So that's something, a good lesson for you guys too when you're watching. There's options and there's timing. On paper, a lot of people say, hey, close it sooner so you don't have to do as much work later. And I like that. Okay, we can close it sooner. Totally cool. You can feel like you close it through the ball or close it later. You can test that. Close in the face, club on plane. Yeah, good contact, still too far right.
Yeah.
So I would say to myself, okay, if I'm you, the ball went to the right. Gosh darn it, I felt like I did those things quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I obviously didn't. It's like one of the things I wish I would have done earlier was like had those answers and then just been willing to get in there and exaggerate sooner. Like I haven't seen you hit one ball that hooked over this way.
Never. Oh.
So that's because you have these pieces of your face open. You're trying,
Yeah.
right? But it's like, that means, hey, we could exaggerate more. What does that mean? I could close the club face more to the top. Or Eric, I don't really like closing to the top as much. Okay, I can close it more on the way down, on the way through. So close in the face, club on plane. Close in the face, club on plane. Yeah, close.
Caught
Now,
the.
let's do one or two without this bucket in for a second.
All right, let's see.
Close the face, club on plane. Yes. Dead straight. Yes, beautiful job, dude. How good is that?
Started drawing left.
That was solid.
Yeah.
Drew a little left of the target. Very nice. Very good. Because sometimes you're gonna have these things in your swing, like through impact that you wanna fix. Like there's no doubt Brad's got to fix the release pattern, but if we don't put the pieces in to fix what caused it, it's never gonna last. Like it'd make his swing look really good for a clip or for Instagram, but then a week later it's gonna do the same things. So if you're having a problem doing things through the ball, you have to fix the pieces earlier on. Yes, dude. I mean, that clipped it a touch, but how good was that?
That one, I think that one felt really good.